Hey, and welcome back to the road to the Great Canadian Open Winter 2026. My name is Clarence, and this is my video series following me as I paint up my Brotherhood Without Banners army. And I'm back from vacation. Yesterday was a traveling day, an unpacking day, a wind down day, so unfortunately no video blog. But today I'm back and I'm going to be basing my army. Now I suspect that I'm going to be spending a lot of time waiting for things to dry. So I will also be priming and applying the Wraithbone Zenithal and maybe the Dry Brush to my next 12 guys as well. I think I'll be working on the archers next. So let's get on to the basing. So this is where we left off. All the models are base coated, they're oil washed, they're dry, they're matte varnished, and they don't actually look, they look good, but once you put the basing on, they will look really complete. So let's talk about how I'm going to base these guys. Let me just put this down real quick. Grab my tester, which is this guy, I guess. So how do I normally base models? I'm going to be doing a different technique today than for my song models. But for every other faction I've painted, I did kind of an old school method where I would put on some watered down PVA glue or white glue, dip it in some modeling sand, let that dry for a couple hours, come back, wash it with a brown wash, normally Agrax Earthshade, water down a little bit normally, and then once that's dry, I'll put on a dry brush of Rakarth Flesh. I would rim the base with Mournfang Brown, and then I would apply on a little bit of static grass. I think for my summer theme, I've got like a yellowy static grass that I use. But for my Brotherhood Without Banners, I'm going to be doing something a bit different, which is I'll be using some textured terrain. Now, why am I doing that? Is because it's just a bit faster than the other method, which has a lot of steps involved drying. So the textured terrain looks like this. I'm going to be using AK Dark Earth. So it comes as kind of a paste. Let me see if I can open this up with one hand. Yep, okay. And it looks like this. Mine's a little bit dried out. I may add a little bit of water. And you apply it on top of your base. And it dries out after a couple of hours. And after that's done, I will dry brush the top with Rakarth Flesh, and then I will rim the thing with Mournfang Brown. It just saves a little bit of time, in other words. And I find also when you do it the old school method, when you wash it with the Agrax Earthshade, sometimes if you didn't wait long enough, the sand can also flake off. Sometimes when you dry brush, the sand can flake off. This stuff, it does not flake off. Once it's dry, it is on there pretty solid. So let's apply on the first layer and see how it looks. And we're back after the first model has been based with the Dark Earth. And I add a little bit of water because mine is a bit dried out. I have a modeling tool that I use to kind of push it around and level it out a little bit. So that's how it looks for now. We're going to start letting it dry, and then we will work on the other 11 in the meantime. So I'm going to say that took a couple of minutes. Let's see how much I can get done in 1 hour. Of note, I also primed the movement tray, and I'm going to be applying it on the movement tray as well. Before I do that, I think I'm going to just take a little bit of black paint. You can still see a little bit of gray that the primer missed. So I'm going to be applying this to the top of the movement tray so that they will blend in with the tray as well. All right, so 1 hour of work will be starting now. See you soon. And we are back. So 1 hour later, I've applied all the mud, the dark earth to their bases, and I also applied the dark earth very carefully to the movement tray. So that is applied, and I actually let this dry for about 2 to 3 hours. I can't remember how long it was, maybe 3 hours. And it is now dry. It did take me the full hour to put on this basing material. But now that it's done, I do think I want to push forward and just do a quick dry brush, rim the sides here with Mournfang Brown, apply some tufts, and then the tray will be completely finished along with the men. So I'll probably spend another hour doing that, but again, I'm so close to being finished, I'd really like to get it done today. So off we go to some dry brushing. So we're going to dry brush Rakarth Flesh over the top. So we'll show you one model and then we'll do the rest. Be right back.
I just wanted to talk a bit about the dry brushing process. You can hopefully see the images to the left and right of me, the before and after. So the dark earth is really, really dark, and when you dry brush, I find you want a pretty high contrast color, which is why I chose Rakarth Flesh, which is kind of an off-white color. So even though it's very, very extreme, you're dusting on so little. If the color that you're dry brushing is too close to your base, it won't pop out. So again, we're not trying to get 3 or 4 or 5 different layers of dry brushing here. We're just going for a very, very contrasty kind of look, so use Rakarth Flesh. When you dry brush, you want to make sure, of course, that your brush is very, very dry, as the name implies. Wipe off the majority onto a paper towel, and then you want to brush in different directions. So I tend to go in about 4 directions. I go like up and down, then I go sideways, then I go diagonal from both sides. This way you get an even dry brush from all angles. And that's the look. So you can see the before and after, hopefully you like, and you can apply it to your own work.
Here we are with the dry brushing all done on all 12 guys and the base. So looking pretty close to being finished. Last steps are to rim all these edges brown with Mournfang Brown. I'm going to do that twice. And then I'm going to put on some tufts, and then they are done skis. This step took about half an hour. I predict it'll be about another half hour to get everything else done, maybe a little bit more. Again, this is going over the hour allocated for today, but I find that I'm so excited to finish a project at this point that I just kind of push through. So we'll be back with the Mournfang Brown on the tester. You can see how it looks like, and then we'll do the rest. Be back soon. Bye-bye. All right, we are back with the base rimmed in Mournfang Brown. It's actually looking really dark under this light, but it's been rimmed twice. It's way brighter in real life. Hopefully, when I take the final photo, it'll pop out underneath the lights. You need to do it twice. One layer is a bit streaky, so you gotta do, I did all 12, I did the tray, and then by the time I did the tray, the first model, this guy, was pretty much dry again, so I went back and did him. So now we're moving on to just adding on some tufts. So we're going to use some Army Painter tufts. I'm going to see what I have in my collection, and I'll use that. Be back soon. And the tuft is down. I think I used the winter tuft, which is kind of a yellowy green color, which kind of matches the peasant look. So I'm going to base the rest, put them together, and we are done skis. Let's take a look at the final product. Voila! We are completely done this tray from start to finish. So if I'm counting this correctly, this took approximately 9.5 to 10 hours to complete from start to finish, from unprimed to done. And I'm pretty happy. You know, it's always very satisfying to get a tray fully complete. At first, I wasn't really happy with the tufts I used because they looked too close. But it does blend in, so it kind of matches. I don't know if something brighter would have been a good choice. It might have been too stark of a contrast. I don't really know. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with how these guys came out. You know, looking at them now, could I go back and do more work in the banner, do some work in the stitches, break up the different pieces of cloths? Maybe, but my goal is also, I mean, I would definitely go back in and do the eyes and that kind of stuff, maybe one line highlight here and there, but the goal of this painting series is to show you what can be done with kind of minimal effort. If anyone put this on the table, I think they'd be pretty happy. So that is it for the first tray. So I'm going to take a bit of a palette cleanser and paint Tom 7 Strings next. Hopefully you've enjoyed the progress so far. I hope you've been inspired to paint. What are you working on? How's it going? Tell me about your progress, and we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Bye-bye.